This dash cam lets you record front and rear facing footage. Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I drive a lot. In the last week, I think I've averaged about 2 or 3 hours per day behind the wheel. Some of it on one of the busiest and honestly most dangerous highways in the state of Colorado. The speed limit's 75. People routinely pass you, weaving in and out at 90 miles an hour or faster. It's pretty bonkers. If something were to happen, then having some sort of proof of an incident, an accident, someone being violent or aggressive on the road would be invaluable. One of the many reasons it's really great to get a dash cam and put it in your car. So what I'm looking at today is this. This is the Nextbase 622GW 4K GPS Dashcam. And they also sent me their rear-facing camera too. Isn't that great? It's the little ball, and you just basically stick it on your back window, or if you have a hatchback like me, on the back hatch. And you're going to say, how do you do that? Super easy. It is this little device, and it has adhesive. So you basically adhere it to the window, and then you just simply use the magnet so that the rear camera is pointing in the right direction. And then it's pretty easy to adjust it to get it just right. Now, I will admit, rear-facing cameras, if you look in the rear view mirror, you're going to see it. But I imagine that is something that's helping protect me, so I like it. I had mine mounted smack dab in the center of my rear window. You could put it on a side and angle it, I think, if you were really trying to minimize that invasiveness. It does require a pretty hefty wire to go from the rear camera, and you can see here, the little plug here. So the rear camera has a wired connection to the front camera, and it does include an install tool. You can use tape. You can just run it along the top if you want, or you can just run it down maybe between the seats or something. I just let the wire lay there because I was testing. If I was to use this a lot, I'd probably get a professional install for front and back camera. But even if you just want to have the wires hanging, it's not a big deal. And then this one, this part adheres to the window, and then this actually is magnetic. So once this is on the window, this just goes like that. And then you plug in the rear camera on the side, and then there's power here, and that's this wire. And as you can see, it has a 12-volt adapter. So there's a fair bit of wiring to get it all set up and everything, but it's pretty easy. And this is a nice big screen, so it makes it really easy for you to adjust things. Not only that, but once you hook up the rear camera, it shows what the rear camera is seeing. So you can also use this to adjust that rear camera. Probably that's easiest to do with two people, so you can be looking at the screen and saying, no, tilt it a little down to the left. Nope, I mean the right. There you go. Now the horizon is level. So some point I imagine these programs or these devices will just have automatic horizon detection, and they'll just adjust it as needed. But for now, yeah, I got a little bit of fiddling to do. Luckily, it pairs with their My Nextbase Connect app. I will say it's one of the nicest looking app icons I've seen for a while, so I give them credit for that. But enough talking, there's more to talk about, but I know you want to see demos. So let's jump into some demo footage, starting with a forward view, and at a certain point I'm going to slow it down so you can hear what it records with audio. Whoa, let's slow this down. Just in case you're curious, this is what the voice recording sounds like inside my car when I'm driving about 75 miles an hour on the highway. So there's a fair amount of road noise. My car's not the quietest one on the highway, but this gives you a good demo. Now, let's speed up again. As with all of these devices, nighttime is harder. It does have a special sensor for low light, and it also has another one for extreme weather. So if you're driving through fog or driving through a misty or cloudy conditions, it supposedly is able to actually get a clearer impression or clearer image. I didn't have a chance to test that, so I can't verify it, but the night vision was pretty good. The rear-facing night vision, because it's such a wide 140-degree field of view, I didn't feel that was quite so good, but it's still helpful to be able to see, yeah, everyone was stopped, and then that car just hit me. So it's exactly why you have a dash cam. Give you some more specs, and then we'll look at the app just a little bit, because the app's also an important part of the experience. So this camera, this one, is 4K at 30 frames per second, or you can set it to 1440p at 60 frames per second, or, really fun, 1080p, you can do it at 120 frames per second. So if for some reason you are feeling like you need to capture an enormous amount of data because things are happening really, really quickly, you can go to 120 frames per second, which is basically going to be like slow motion. So I don't know, if you're in a demolition derby, maybe that would be useful. Not sure otherwise when that would be helpful. Important to note, 4K by default, and this is 1K. This is 1080p at 30 frames per second. So this does not have as fancy a sensor, but honestly, I feel like that's entirely sufficient for the job that it's doing. They do support something known as what three words, which is just a way of saying that anywhere you are on Earth, instead of having to specify latitude and longitude, which is complicated, you can actually use the what three words system to have 3 English words that uniquely identify your location. Also, super helpful if you get into an accident, because it can generate the what three words for your current location as part of its SOS. In fact, it does have something that is an emergency SOS feature, but let's see. So image stabilization, night vision, extreme weather fog, built-in Alexa. Not really sure why I would need it built into my dash cam, but you can set it up, which is nice. Has a parking mode sensor, and they say it will be able to run for 2.5 weeks when it's just been used for a while, because it has its internal onboard battery. You won't see anything, but there's a G-Shock sensor that should then turn on the cameras for recording and then turn itself off again. So it includes a 64 gig micro SD card, and let me just pop it out and show you, because like so many of these, it is this super tiny little card. And the reason dash cam companies include their own cards is because people have a tendency to buy cheap SD cards or micro SD cards, and they're too slow. So this is a high-speed card, and then it comes with an adapter, so you can just slide this into the adapter. Let's see, like that. And so now it becomes effectively an SD card, which I can then plug into my computer and go through all of the footage super fast, which is exactly how I grabbed all that demo footage. Really, really beneficial if you don't want to hassle with the app. But we can also use the app, and let me just go ahead and put this back in the dash cam. And the way SD cards work is you try to put it in, and either it fits or it doesn't. If it doesn't fit, you got it the wrong way, flip it 180. So that's about easy enough, right? So the rear is a wired camera. As I said, there's a fair amount of wiring. It also comes with a mini USB to USB-A, and the intent of this is they say you should charge this for a couple hours before first use, and that's for things like that parking sensor. They want to make sure that it's all juiced up in that rechargeable battery, so that if you drive it 10 minutes to the store and then go in the store and 2 hours later someone bumps you, this will actually have enough juice to be able to capture that footage. So very helpful. And dimensions wise, this is 2 inches by 3.5 or 3.7 inches by 1.8 inches. It's about a pound. And let me show you that app. So give me a second. Let me get some stuff switched around and get my notes. The app experience is pretty good. I haven't yet found a dash cam that has a great app experience. I think it's just a really hard thing to have it be super intuitive and super easy to work with. Plus, you have this dilemma because this has a lot of data, and whether you have 1-minute segments or 2-minute segments or 5-minute segments, each file is big. So there are just inherent challenges in the way these are designed and work, but the My Nextbase app is pretty good. So let me launch it. And so now we're at the home screen. You can see they really want you to hook up the Alexa feature, whatever. Let's go to Live View, which then requires a Wi-Fi connection from your phone to the dash cam. So these dash cams have built-in Wi-Fi. It creates its own Wi-Fi network. And then I can easily switch between front view and back view. And I really like the way that they show sort of the front half of the car and the back half of the car, and you can just tap to switch which view that you want. And then I'm going to switch on the bottom. I'm going to tap on the library button, and that actually will take a second, but it will show me tiny thumbnails for all the footage that's on the dash cam at that moment. And we'll go to rear view, and I'll tap to view it. And then I'm going to save and download it. And this will take a couple of seconds. I'm going to speed this up. Then I can also look at telemetry information and just that sort of generic info tab. And you can't really see it, and I certainly got confused for a while, but at the top left, there's an extremely tiny little, very light blue arrow that you can tap on to move back to the previous screen. It is so subtle that the first time I was trying to record the demo, I literally just quit the app and started it up again to get back from that screen. So Nextbase programmer guys, you might want to make that a little bit more contrasty so people know it's there. Just saying. So now we're looking at the dash cam, and if I tap on the 3 dots option, you can see I can make some changes to thumbnail size. I can just look at the front view or rear view footage. Here's the emergency SOS if I want to set that up. And then if I go back to the home screen and I tap on the so-called hamburger menu on the top left and go to settings, there's a bunch of settings. So let's go ahead and turn off the stamp for the dash cam model number. And that's going here, tapping on off. And then I'll go a little further down and I'll actually turn off dual files, because by default, it records a large image and a smaller image, or I should say large video and smaller video for each of the cameras. So the idea of the smaller one is it's easier for you to share with people and to be able to download it more quickly, because obviously it's a smaller file. And then you have the larger ones if you need them. But it does take up a lot of memory, and so it does consume that card storage space faster. In fact, let's do that SD card analysis. Now, don't panic, because the way these are all designed is that once it's full, it will actually overwrite the oldest file. So it never really runs out of space. It will just start consuming older video footage, which means that you might occasionally need to go and tap to lock things. And that's where, if you look at this close-up, you can see that there's a button that lets you actually lock that footage. So it can sort of mark it as don't overwrite. And then if you remember, when we were looking at the dash cam tab options, one of the options was locked files only. So it does have that mechanism. But that's the app, and I'll tell you, I did do some cutting and editing here so that it would be a fairly quick demo, but it does take a little while to get used to. Or you can do what I do with most of these dash cams, which is I set it up, I use the app to get all the settings how I want, and then when I'm actually working with footage, I just pop the card out and just go directly from the card to my computer without having this Wi-Fi network in the middle. You can choose which path is easier for you, but that's everything. That is the full dash cam experience. So this, like I said, is the Nextbase 622GW. But before we go any further, I'm going to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and click or tap on that subscribe button. Hit that bell icon for notifications of my new content. Give me a thumbs up if you found this of value. And if there's something I missed that you wish I would have demoed or talked about, leave that in the comments, because then I'll just do it better next time. That's kind of how that works. Sweet. This is the Nextbase 622GW 4K GPS Dashcam. And it is $379.99, currently discounted way down to $295.99 at Amazon.com. This is the Nextbase rear dash cam, and it is $99.99, currently discounted down to $79.99, which means if you want to buy both of these, and I recommend you do, because why not? If you're going to have footage, why not have footage from both sides of your car? Then your total's $375.99 for 4K plus 1K HD video footage with all of the features and capabilities that I explained here. It will take you some time to get it set up and installed and all mounted in the right, locations on your window and stuff. But once you do, it really is a plug and forget. So once I had this set up, I just drove and parked and then got back in my car and turned it on and drove again. Super easy. So lots to like here. Definitely one worth checking out. That's what I got. Hope to catch you in my next video.